Hi. So I just wanted to pop in and say hello. It's been a minute. I've not had regular vlogs for quite some time, so this is nothing new. I've just had a lot going on, just between life and I bought a new car. I sold my old one, which was a whole thing. I mean, if you sold on Facebook Marketplace, it's like you get messages from all sorts of people, and then it's like you go to meet them to try to sell the car, and they don't show up. Or I had one case where we drove all the way to the bank to sign the paperwork to sign the title over to them, and they changed their mind at the last minute. But thankfully, that's all over, and I think I might actually be getting back into writing too. Like, I got a really strong idea that I'm excited about. Like, I've had two books that I've been trying to work on for the past year or two, and they just haven't stuck with me. But I'll talk more about that later. And I've got more movie vlogs I'm wanting to do. I've got a lot of movies that I've watched here recently that I really want to talk about. Some that I watched months ago that I'm like, I really want to talk about this film. I just haven't gotten around to sitting down and doing it. And you know, it's summertime. I'm trying to enjoy the nice weather before it gets cold, and you know, I'm indoors all the time. And speaking of stuff that I like to do indoors, you know, for me, fall and winter is like record season for me. That's when I like stay inside and listen to records a lot. The summer, not so much. I haven't sat down to listen to a record for quite some time, and it's been about well over about a month and a half or so since I've bought new records for my collection. But I stopped by the Buckeye thrift store, which is a thrift store by my parents' place, and I really wanted to see what records they had. So I went there and I looked around, and they had a crate full of records, and I started looking through them, and I actually found a lot of really cool stuff. The problem was the lady wasn't ready to sell them yet. And I've never had a thrift store do this before. Usually, like, when I've gone to Goodwill or St. Francis, their records are all at like a flat rate. Like, they'll sell me them for 99 cents or $1.99, which I think is fair for used records that people just donate. But, you know, I found some Neil Diamond records that I didn't have. They weren't in, like, great condition. Like, they were in just okay condition. Like, they were worthy of, like, the dollar bin, I would say. But, you know, I picked out the ones that I wanted, and she's like, I'm not ready to part with these yet. I want to get them individually priced. And I want to preface this, what I'm about to go into, by saying that that's totally fine if that's how she wants to do it. But I don't know. Like, I don't think that they're worth whatever she's going to find online, because they're not in pristine condition or even good condition. They're just barely fair condition. I mean, once I like clean them up and everything, they'll be, you know, playable. But I suspect with them being as scratched up and having so much dust on them, I suspect that it'll be quite a project to clean them up. So I was like, well, okay, that's fine. So I gave her my number, and I made a list of the ones I was interested in, and I told her to call me, and she said, well, if you don't hear from me, come back next week and maybe we can work something out. And I even went as far as to you know, I went on Discogs, which is a really neat record app, and those kind of give you like a minimal price, a medium price, and a maximum price. Like, maximum is like their brand spanking new, and still in the saran wrap. Medium is like good condition. Then I would say like the bottom one is in if they're like really damaged. And most of the records sold were either priced at $0 or $1. And I had 5 records that I picked out, and you know, I really wanted them, so I offered her, you know, $3 for each of them. But she's like, I kind of want to get them priced first. So I mean, to me, you know, she might have ended up making a good buck on those, but that's okay. I'll come back next week and maybe I'll get them for cheaper, or it could be completely wrong. Maybe they're there's some special edition ones in there that I didn't realize were special edition ones. But I did pick up some records today, and holy crap, we're already 5 minutes into this, and I'm rambling. But I went to Goodwill because I didn't want to just like go out and not get some records. I've been really wanting to get some new records, but I found like a good haul at Goodwill. Usually I don't do this well, but I've not been to the Goodwill here in Middletown before, so they had like a fairly decent selection of stuff that I didn't already have. So I got Quiet Lies by Juice Newton. I think this will be the first album of hers that I've bought. And once again, once I go through... Ooh, I love that. Didn't know that was in there. Once I go through these and I clean them and everything, I always sleeve them in anti-static sleeves because that helps keep them clean for the future. Like even these like ones that I get for like 99 cents or like $1, I still try to take really good care of them because I want them to last. And I think that records deserve respect. It breaks my heart when I see them like stacked real high. Or in this case, when I went to Goodwill and I was looking through their selection, they had some where I was like, why is this front part higher than the rest? And I was like, I kind of lifted it up and I saw like a stack of like 45 just spread at the bottom of this bin, and it made me want to cry. Connie Smith is not somebody I'm super familiar with. I don't think I've actually heard any of her music. And it is something that I try to do when I go record shopping, is I try to get an artist that maybe I've not bought before. And I would encourage others to do the same, especially if they're like, discount dollar bin records. What do you have to lose if you're only spending, 99 cents? Here's one that I like a lot, Nita Bryant, and it's still got some of the shrink wrap on it. I love that album cover. Like, that's a very beautiful painting of her. And again, what I like about records that you don't typically get in digital form or even CD is like this big blurb about the artist or the album itself. I guess CDs do come with like little booklets sometimes, but that's not as common as what it used to be. Here's another one by Anita Bryant. This cover is a little bit more straightforward. And there's a picture with her, with I assume is what's her family. And of course, I'm a huge Barbra Streisand fan. I love her music. I love her movies too. I've only seen Yentl, and which blew me away. That's a movie that I'm wanting to do a vlog on to discuss it, because I was just blown away by just the cinematography and the directing alone. So keep an eye out for that. But amazingly, I've got a shit ton of her albums, but I didn't have this one. And here's another Streisand album that I didn't have. This is a concert that she did after taking like a 20-year break from concerts. I've lost my train of thought. But yes, I was happy to find this one because I think this might have been the last concert she ever did. Like, I don't think she's done one since then. And this was, does it have a year? 1987. I think this might have been, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe she did do more concerts after that, but I know this was the big one. And here's a band I've not heard of. It's called Wildfire, and the cover alone was enough to get my attention. I mean, you got a attractive woman with some sort of flamethrower stick thingamajig, and then the back cover is also great too. I'm assuming that this is like a 80s rock band, maybe. There's no dates on the back of this one that I can see. This one's not in the best of condition. But this was another one of those cases where I wanted to try a band that I'd not heard of before. Anne Murray, she's good, easy listening, just like Streisand and Anita Bryant. I really like her music. It's sort of that sort of relaxing music that kind of takes you back in time, in my opinion, and that's why I like artists like her, Streisand, and Bryant, is that they sort of help me to relax after a hard day's work or after a hard weekend when I just kind of want to sit down and hang out with my cats and drink coffee and not have to really think about anything other than just to be in the moment. Here's Connie Smith. I really like this cover. I think that outfit looks good on her. And there's even an address on this one. I wonder if this is the person that previously owned this album. But yeah, I'm excited to check this out. There's a short blurb from Loretta Lynn, which is another artist that I like. I guess a letter she wrote to Connie Smith, which is cool. I mean, you don't really see things like that anymore. Last but not least, another Connie Smith album. Boy, she's gorgeous. But again, there's a whole blurb on this album on the back there. But I'm excited to dive into these, to get them properly cleaned and try to restore them as much as possible. And I've mentioned what I do to take care of my records. Initially, when I buy them, is to what I do is I use 2 microfiber rags. So I have one for drying and one for the initial wipe down. So I'll wipe them down with one, and then I'll spray it down with a bottle of distilled water, and then I'll dry it off with the other rag, and then I'll leave it on a rack to sort of dry out. And for the ones that are particularly dirty, sometimes I'll have to do it twice. But typically just once does a pretty good job. Like once you get like any like hair, dust, or dirt off of there, it improves the record's playability by quite a bit, actually. And another thing you want to consider is when you put it on your player, you have to worry about dust and hair and whatever else is stuck in those grooves getting onto your needle and messing up your needle and messing up other records that you have. So it's just a whole thing that I would highly recommend. I've seen a couple of folks, and I try not to be a record snob, but it's like when I see people that have like a record that's out and there's just cat hair littered on it or dog hair, or it's just clear that they bought it from a thrift store and they didn't even bother to like wipe it off at the very least. It breaks my heart, but I keep my mouth shut because ultimately they're not my records. But I think if you want the best experience, there are some people that would probably comment on my way of doing things and say that that's not enough, that I need to do more. But for me, when playing a record that I bought for 99 cents, I think my process is good as well, is more than good enough. And my record player, while pretty good, is not like a $400 or $500 record player. It's a $100 machine that I really love listening to. But yeah, that's it for my rambling. I mean, you can tell I haven't vlogged in a while because this has gone on almost 15 minutes already. So what do you like to do when it gets colder out? Like, what is your go-to thing for like relaxing when you're stuck inside? For me, it's listening to records and 8 tracks, just enjoying a cup of coffee or cup of tea. But yeah, that's been my thing for the past couple of years. So comment below, let me know, and thanks for hanging out.